This is It Was a Thing on TV.
Total Red Man has ever done something like this to me!
It's, time!
Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the dregs of humanity!
Welcome to the It Was a Thing on TV podcast. Episode 5, Submission 047. That's My Dog, and Think Like a Cat. We'll start with That's My Dog, which aired on the Family Channel from September 1st of 1991 to September 30th of 1995, with additional episodes airing up until 1997 for a total of 100 episodes. This ran for 6 years?
That ran for 6 years.
I thought it ran for like half that time. It ran for 6 years. Oh my gosh.
This week's competitors are Tennyson and Dracula. And now, here's the host who sweats through his tongue, Will Schreiner!
Hey guys, I'm back from my vacation last week. What did I miss?
Oh, hey.
Hey!
We have Chico here, as always. Well, not
Hi.
as always, but we have Chico here.
This is the first time the three of us are actually together on a podcast, and Greg gets to hear a ghost story.
No, we were here 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
Oh,
he was. Yeah,
my
us
mistake.
three have been together in the past.
Oh, my mistake. But yeah, Greg missed the ghost story from last week.
We'll let Greg get that out of his system before we start today's episode.
Before we get to That's My Dog, I want to talk about Jennifer Slept Here. I watched that episode 11 where, like, they filmed at her house where they did the life story. That was the worst episode I've ever seen in my entire life. Mike, you have the nerve to say Manimal was bad. Oh God, when you watch that episode, you will take back every bad thing you said about Manimal. She becomes briefly visible when the actress who she hates can't play the role of herself, and so she acts in the role, and then when they play it back, she's invisible, you see, because she's a ghost. And they were like, what? What? This random lady who showed up is not showing up on film, who just happens to look like Jennifer. Oh, that was such lazy, bad writing. Oh.
Tell us how you really feel.
It was the most campiest. And you know, you talked to me, Mike, about how it was the tone was very different with you and Chris about the show, but I thought it was campy as hell.
Well, there's a reason why it is campy as hell.
Yeah, I mean,
I guess that's the appeal of it, though.
I guess.
it's an NBC comedy from the early 80s. Were you expecting some sort of masterpiece?
No.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. For every Cheers that we had and every Family Ties, we had to get a Mr. Smith and a Jennifer Slept Here and a Hello Larry.
Spoiler alert.
It's criminal that we have all the episodes available of Jennifer Slept Here on the tape trading circuit, but we can't find a single footage online of Mr. Smith other than the opening from the first episode. It is absolutely criminal. Okay, I'm done talking about Jennifer Slept Here. Let's move on to our subject.
What a travesty.
Mm-hmm.
What a human injustice. All right, speaking of injustices, hey, That's My Dog. That's My Dog, as you might gather, was about dogs. It was a game show where dogs were the contestants. 2 dogs and their family members competed against each other in various events, and the winning team, whoever got the most points, ended up winning a small prize package, usually like a little kitchenette or something like that. Actually, from what I've seen, it's a bunch of kitchen appliances. I mean, like an oven, a refrigerator, not a great refrigerator, but still a refrigerator, and a dishwasher. And I mean, that's not hay. That's probably still back in the day like $2,000 worth of stuff.
Oh, yeah. Especially in what, 1990s money?
And also on a family channel budget.
Oh, yeah. And of course, it begs to be said, That's My Dog was based on a British format.
Yeah, based on the British show, That's My Pooch. No, it's called That's My Dog. I just remember that. If you remember Letterman about 20 years ago, Will It Float? There was a British version he said called Is It Buoyant?
Yeah.
Is it buoyant? So the British version of That's My Dog is That's My Canine.
I wouldn't be surprised if that was actually the real British title, because you know how Ready Set Cook here in the UK is Ready Steady Cook for some reason.
Yes, I do.
The British version was called That's My Dog.
Yes.
And unfortunately, there's very little information about it online.
Yeah, you'd have to go to ukgameshows.com for any information. But the American version was recorded, at least for one season, at Universal Orlando, back when going to Universal Orlando was the it thing to do.
And the episode I watched, from 1993 with Will Shriner, they were taping at Disney MGM Studios. This was the period when Disney MGM Studios, Disney would use it to tape we want any production here in Orlando. Come on, come in and film. Because I showed you a video, Mike, of a subject that we'll hopefully be doing in a couple of months. Wink, wink. Thunder in Paradise, where they would literally shoot at any area of the park for scenery at Disney.
Yep. And I have the information here. The first season was shot outdoors near Residential Street at the Disney MGM Studios backlot. This according to, of course, Truth by Consensus Wikipedia. And the second season was filmed at Universal Orlando, and the last 2 seasons were filmed at Disney MGM. But only the first season was filmed outdoors. Everything else was filmed in a soundstage.
Yes, and actually, while doing research for this, I found an article about Steve Strovan, who was the first host. Now, that name may not totally ring a bell, but if you remember the hidden camera show from the early 90s called Totally Hidden Video, he hosted a couple seasons of that.
Yes, Totally Hidden Video, which, by the way, to dash from That's Morris's trash, that was a real show. It was not a fake show.
No, it was totally real.
No, it was real.
Video was totally real. That's because you were probably too young for that show, Dash. I'm saying that in case he's actually listening to us.
So yes, Steve Strovan hosted the first couple seasons. He actually grew up in the same town, actually more township than town. It's a township where my cousins live. A little township, maybe about 30 minutes east of here, about 30 miles east of Cleveland, called Munson Township. Very quiet little community. That's where he grew up. So I thought that was very interesting. But also, the taping schedule for this, That's My Dog, they taped all the episodes of the season in 5 days.
Wow.
Yeah,
and how many episodes were there per season?
Well, I mean, let's do the math. There's 100 episodes and 4 seasons, so probably 25, 26, 24.
All right, that is actually doable, because...
Yeah, 5 a day.
5 a day for a week. That's a season.
Yeah, 5 a day is very doable. And Steve Strovan, you may not know the name, but he's gone on to bigger and better things. A couple years after he left That's My Dog, he was a writer for a little sitcom on CBS called Everybody Loves Raymond.
Never heard of it.
And actually, around the time that he was doing That's My Dog, he also wrote for, again, another little show called Seinfeld.
Never heard of that one either.
Oh, we'll have to add those to the list.
Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, again, judging by live research here, I believe he also wrote an episode of, spoiler alert, maybe a future entry, Salute Your Shorts.
That'd be a good one. Yeah, Nickelodeon classic.
Well, that's up for debate. We'll talk about that later.
Well, another thing I want to mention. In Steve Skrovan's episode of Seinfeld, he wrote the movie, the fictional film in the episode, Rochelle, about a young girl's strange erotic journey from Mulan to Minsk, made its first appearance in the episode. George later rents it from the video store in Season 4's The Smelly Car, and it is turned into a Broadway musical starring Bette Midler in Season 6's The Understudy.
And after Steve Skrovan left, he was replaced by Will Schreiner, who's sort of a familiar name in the game show circles. He hosted Small Talk on Family Channel later in the decade, 96, 97, I do believe. And his father was Herb Schreiner, who hosted Two for the Money. But also, Schreiner hosted some other shows in that time frame. He hosted Why Didn't I Think of That? Oh, there's one we need to add to the list. Why didn't I think of that? Do you guys remember that one?
No, I do not know that at all.
It was basically a competition between inventors. And I don't know if there's a panel. I remember bits and pieces of it. I'm sure it's online. And this panel, I believe, or somehow they determined like the inventor of the week. And it was a pretty blah show, but it was produced by Wink Martindale.
Whoa.
Uh-huh. And that was early 90s. That ran for a couple of years. But he's been a fixture on TV for a long time, for decades.
And also, on his Wikipedia page, it mentions that he was a regular in 1980 on the NBC morning show, The David Letterman Show.
Another entry.
Yes.
One we're very eager to tackle.
Oh, that'll be so great.
But that's not coming for months. We'll just say that much.
Yeah.
So the game itself, as I said, two dogs competed in a series of different events. There were games where people would dress up the dogs, put shirts on them or put shorts on them, or maybe the dog is already wearing a shirt and a human's wearing a shirt, and they go into a big sleeping bag or some sort of giant bag, and they have to exchange shirts. Kind of interesting why they wanted to dress up dogs. I don't get that. But also there were some events like a game where there was a arrangement of bowling pins, and the dog had to knock over all the pins in 30 seconds. They did a similar game with dominoes, where they had 30 seconds to knock over as many dominoes as they could. Then there was a maze. And I've got...
the maze was awesome.
I've got issues with the maze.
Yeah,
I do too.
What's your issues? I know it looks pretty cool. But then again, this is 12-year-old Chico talking. He saw a maze on a game show. He's like, let me at that maze right now.
It wasn't the Crystal Maze.
No, and it wasn't the maze on American Gladiators either.
The maze on American Gladiators was so much better than this.
The maze, it had a lot of distractions. There was a little like a dish bowl, a water bowl filled with water to distract the dogs if they want to get a little drink of water. There was actually like a sand pit or sandbox which was full of dog food, probably kibbles and bits because they apparently either sponsored the show or
they put their name all over the place.
Oh, their name was everywhere. We'll get to that in a little bit too. But my main issue is, well, a couple issues. One, the walls of the maze were not high enough. I mean, they were probably about 3 to 4 feet high, but you had some of these dogs that were absolutely humongous and could probably leap over the walls in a standing position without a running start.
Yeah.
And actually, there's been more than one time that the dog would jump out of the maze, and I've seen different versions, because sometimes the dog gets disqualified, and other times the dog is allowed to go back in the maze.
Well, I believe it had to do with they could exit the structure, they could leap over the structure of the maze, but not the maze itself, if that makes any sense.
Well, okay, I'm actually talking about exiting the maze, because I have seen episodes where the dogs were disqualified if they left the maze. But there was one episode that I saw doing research for this that the dog left the maze and he jumped back in a couple seconds later and he was not disqualified.
What?
No, I don't remember which episode this was, but he jumped out of the maze, or she jumped out of the maze, and then jumped back in and continued to go to the exit, which the dog eventually did. I don't think they won the maze. I think they were second place, but still the dog wasn't disqualified there. But yeah, Chico's right. If the dog leapt over walls within the maze, that's perfectly legal. There were also some little shortcuts. There wasn't one way to exit the maze. One thing that was in there, and this I find was a disadvantage to some dogs, and you'll understand why. There was a shortcut hole, a hole in the wall where dogs could crawl right through and get a leg up, if you will, no pun intended there, on the opposition. The hole is big enough for an average-sized dog. If you had like a Great Dane or a St. Bernard or another big breed of dog, they couldn't get through that hole. I'm sorry, that's discriminatory towards large dogs.
Oh, I agree.
Yep.
So, yeah, that just didn't sit well with me. Maybe, from an equality purpose, but also there were many games or many shows where you had one little dog going against one big dog. So you had maybe like a Chihuahua or a Pomeranian or some little dog or even a medium-sized dog, maybe like a small Cocker Spaniel, and they're going against a Great Dane. Or, I mean, I haven't seen any Bull Mastiffs. Good heavens if a Bull Mastiff entered the maze. But, yeah, it just, you've got a little 10-pound dog going against a 90 or 100-pound dog. That just doesn't seem too fair. Especially since I've had, growing up, 100-pound dogs. They're like miniature horses.
Yeah.
Then another thing they did, and this wasn't on all the episodes, they had a talent show.
This is what you call a time filler.
Well, I gotta, again, I have issues, and I don't mean those types of issues. First off, they had little kids doing some of the judging, not all the time, but occasionally they had like a 10-year-old or a 12-year-old be a judge. And I'm sorry, why'd you give that dog a 10? The dog is so pretty. But the dog just took a crap on the stage. he made the prettiest crap in the world. Well, okay, I'm joking there, but the thing is, it seemed like the little kids always gave like inflated scores because the puppy dog's so cute. Not that the puppy dog did their talent.
Because they're dumb kids.
Well, I get that, but I mean, is that necessarily fair if the dog that gets a bad score because it's not cute loses by 2 points?
Fair,
I know.
unfair.
Okay, I know this isn't
Spoiler
Jeopardy.
alert.
I know this isn't some hard-hitting show. It's very lighthearted fare, but still, the kids, it seemed like, would give artificially high scores because the doggy's pretty, the doggy's cute. I like the doggy's name, and most of the tricks they had were like ridiculously stupid. To Tell us how you really feel, Mike.
Yeah.
And then there was the Doggy Decathlon, and this is another game that I had issues with because the dog would have, depending on what season it was, they would either have 100 seconds or 60 seconds to complete the course. The 100-second season, there would be 10 obstacles, which would be a true decathlon, 10 events. The 60-second episodes, or 60-second Doggy Decathlons, would have just 8 obstacles. So that would be an octathlon, I think. Octathlon? Heptathlon? Octathlon? Sure, why not?
Yeah. Well, let's go with that.
But the dogs would generally finish all 8 events in like no time. 10 seconds, 15 seconds, 20 seconds, 25 seconds. Why are you giving them 60 seconds or 100 seconds to get all these events done? And the thing is, it isn't really a big difference maker. If the dog gets through all the events, which most of the time they did, the scores are going to be the difference in scores is going to be the same as they were going into the decathlon.
Mm-hmm.
So why do it? Or why have that much time? Is it because everybody's a winner?
Something like that, yeah.
It's the 90s doggy equivalent of participation trophies. So, yeah, it was a goofy show. It was even the butt of jokes in my family at the time. How do you guys feel about it? I'm curious to hear what you took away from it besides being blatantly against big dogs.
Well, here's the thing. I want to mention there was one game you neglected to mention that I showed you today on the episode I watched, and that was the attack of the 50-foot dog.
Okay, I've never seen this, so please explain.
Okay, so this is a game where they make up a mock city, and the dog has to, with the help of his trainers, try to knock down like these small little buildings, because the joke is it's like a giant dog who's destroying this small city like he's Godzilla or something.
Yeah.
I remember that.
I do. I remember that too. It was sort of like doggy bowling, only instead of bowling pins, you have buildings.
Yeah, and you'd have the dog try to knock over the fake city with the fake buildings. It was so ridiculously bad.
Oh, well, I will add this about the Doggy Decathlon. They did have a great end because the last event, the dog had to jump through the hole in the O in the "That's my dog" sign.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah,
Yep.
That was adorable. But again, that's like the only positive takeaway I've got from the Doggy Decathlon.
Yeah, well, this show is basically, it was geared for a family audience, obviously.
Because it's a family channel.
Because it's a family channel, yeah. And it was basically turn your brain off television. It's like, no one's expecting high academia, especially from the round 3 canine quiz, where you have to bark in, where the doggy family have to bark in and answer questions. Yes, that's what they used. They called it barking in.
Well,
but yeah, if you were a kid and you liked dogs, this was. Do you have a dog or know a dog and was a dog person? This was a dog show every week.
Yeah. Well, as I mentioned earlier, Kibbles and Bits had to have something going on in terms of advertising because there was.
Well, it was Kibbles and Bits during seasons like 2, 3, and 4, but the first season it was Iams.
Well, Iams I think was relatively new at that time, so that's a good way to get their name out.
Yeah.
But the thing about the Kibbles and Bits signage, oh my gosh, everywhere.
It was like your old high school gymnasium where you would have like all these banners and at least one of them was a Coca-Cola banner.
Or Pepsi. Or Pepsi. In this place, you would have like all these vinyl banners, and at least one of them is Kibbles and Bits. and they were behind the audience and on the maze, and I mean that's to be expected. I mean, if you see shows nowadays that do that type of branding, not necessarily shows here in America. There's been a few, but especially like overseas, branding out the wazoo. And talking about the cheapness of prizes from earlier, the talent showcase judges, plus they had an at-home video contest where one video is shown each week. Those people would all win a Kibbles and Bits and Bits and Bits watch, which probably had a retail value somewhere around $1.98. I'm not kidding. I mean, it looked like
Is
a
it
cheap
digital?
plastic watch. No, it wasn't digital. It was analog.
Okay, then yeah, $1.98 is about right.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't even digital. It had the Kibbles and Bits and Bits and Bits and Bits and Bits and Bits logo on its face, and it looked like the band was that cheap rubber you would have gotten back in like the 90s.
So it was basically an analog version of the honeycomb watch.
Yeah, and okay, yeah, as an adult, if I was an adult judge, I'd be like, all I'm getting is this crappy watch.
yeah, I'd be pissed.
But as a kid, I could see like an 8-year-old going there, hey, look, I was a judge on That's My Dog, and I got a Kibbles and Bits and Bits and Bits watch.
My reaction would be, who cares?
Well, no, as a kid, I think that would be interesting.
As a kid, yeah, but as an adult...
Yeah, I mean, as an adult, we'd be like, who cares? But as a kid, I could see that kid bringing it into show and tell, and just like, oh, this is my favorite watch, because I got to judge Sparky the Bulldog, who tried tap dancing on stage.
That'd be like the most impressive trick on That's My Dog if the dog actually tap danced.
Well, yeah, I mean, most of the tricks they had were like dogs bouncing balls off their nose.
Oh yeah, those were not impressive at all.
Yeah.
And actually, they're sort of derivative from the games that were played, because there were games where there was one game I remember seeing where a volleyball or a beach ball would be thrown at the dog, and the dog had to bounce it over the net with his snout or her snout. And that was actually a very interesting game, because not one, but 2 of the beach balls were destroyed by the dog in the playing of the game.
Whoops.
Wow.
Maybe they shouldn't have had like a rubber ball. Maybe it should have been a little thicker or something. I don't know. But I need to like rinse my mouth out of this That's My Dog. But I do want to add a couple more things. There were special episodes.
Ooh, yeah, I remember these special episodes. There was one celebrity show.
Celebrity dogs.
Celebrity dogs.
Celebrity dogs!
Celebrity dogs!
Oh my goodness.
Are you ready for this?
Oh, I'm so excited.
Yeah, so the new hotness on Family Channel at that time was Rin Tin Tin Canine Cop. It was
corporate synergy.
Yep. Hashtag filmed in Toronto. Anyway, because it's cheap to produce in Canada. That's the thing. Anyway, yeah, and they went against Dreyfus from Empty Nest.
Now again, 2 big dogs. What are they going to do in the maze? They can't go through that little that hole in the wall. I mean, Rin Tin Tin would have been, I think, a German Shepherd, I believe, and Dreyfus was a Saint Bernard. 2 huge dogs.
Yep. So I guess they didn't do the maze on that episode. I don't know.
Maybe they had a really big hole in the wall for the maze. And then there was a Christmas episode with Christmas-themed events. Aww. And this one, I have big issues with this. There was a puppy love episode where puppies played. Aww. Well, here's why I have issues. Well, one of the puppies was 10 days old. 10 days old. The reason I have an issue with this is a 10-year-old puppy should not be separated from his mother or her mother. I just think that's really bad for the dog. I know maybe the separation was only a number of hours, but still, and I don't think that dogs at 10 days old can even see, or maybe just started seeing a day or two earlier. But yeah, that just struck me the wrong way. And I say that as a dog lover. That's I mean, we've never had any dogs who are younger than about 6 weeks old, and yeah, we've always adopted or gotten them from reputable dealers. But that just seems wrong. A 10-day-old on that show, and I don't mean to make light of the situation, but the puppy love episode with two little puppies was one of the lowest scoring games in the show's history. I'm sorry, I shouldn't be laughing, but I just...
What a surprise.
Yeah, what a surprise. But I just see these two little dogs. No, that's just wrong. No, no, that's... I can't say any more about that. That's so wrong in so many ways. And I'm sounding like a dog lover, and I am a dog lover even though I've got two cats. But that's just... It seems like a good idea on paper, and maybe it sounded or looked like a good idea on television, but reading about it and getting the details, it's like, this wouldn't fly nowadays. Maybe this is something they could have gotten by with 25 years ago, but I don't see... I see a lot of pet advocates saying you're separating a dog from its mother at 10 days old to be on a stupid TV show. That's not cool.
Yeah, this isn't the age of social media where everyone gets outraged at every stupid thing on Twitter every hour.
Well, again, not just that, but the thing is, like I said, the dog should be with the mother, and yeah, I'm no expert in animal husbandry, but that just seems wrong to separate the little pup from its family when he's been alive literally a week and a half.
Oh, I'm not going to argue with that.
Boy, that's like a sour way to end this half of the episode.
Well, I will bring up something that we haven't mentioned yet to lighten it up, but we didn't talk about the animated opening from season 1.
Oh, yes. Oh, and that's where the music that you heard at the start of the show came from. They had an animated opening. Actually, the animated opening came from later seasons, from what I've seen.
Oh, wow.
So I'm guessing they decided to spend the money on the show after they were, quote unquote, a bona fide hit, or at least renewed.
Yeah, Pat Robertson was like, you know what, we got to spend the big bucks on this. That's my dog show.
So yeah, they had an animated opening, and I'll let Greg go into that.
Okay, there's a. All right, let me describe the opening. So there's a thing that says a dog audition. There's a dog getting shot by a cannon. The dog is juggling bowling balls. There's another dog on stilts.
And this whole time, this dog shot out of the cannon is like sailing by them and giving thumbs ups.
It looks like something out of a Sega CD game from like 1992.
That's horrible. I mean, have you seen Sega CD games from 1992? That's horrible.
Have you ever seen the game Wonder Dog?
Yes,
That's
I
what
have.
It looks like. Yeah, but Wonder Dog is actually an amazing game.
Greg, get ready to have your mind blown.
What?
That's my dog for the CDI.
Are you kidding me?
No, we need to do that.
Oh, okay.
That needs to be a thing.
That's right. Well, if Thunder in Paradise can be on the CDI, That's My Dog could be on the CDI too. We have to get a tortoise. We got to steal Ed Begley Jr.'s tortoise made out of vegetable oil, go to his house, steal his tortoise, and convince Phillips, you know what, forget Hotel Mario, forget the Zelda games on CDI. That's My Dog on CDI.
And the whole idea is to aim that dog out of the cannon to swerve around different objects. Oh, look, there's a dog on stilts. Wave hi. Hi there. Oh, look, there's a dog juggling. Hey, how you doing? But then what happens after the dog flies past those other dogs? He smacks right into the stage door.
Ow. Because physical comedy, obviously.
Well, because apparently the person who shot off the cannon wanted to hurt the dog. Not that we would condone that. So then they'd show inside the studio where an audience of dogs, animated dogs, would hold up cards that spell, "That's my dog." And that's actually where the image you see for this week came from. But then they show a dog on stage. I forget what the dog on stage was doing. I think that might be juggling, I believe. And so the dog was doing something, I believe juggling, and
the dog was playing the accordion.
The dog was playing accordion, thank you. And a hook comes out, or not a hook, but rather a cane, like they used to do in the old vaudeville days, to grab the dog off the stage, and it rips the dog's head off, and you see it's actually a cat in a dog costume.
What a phony.
You know what? I'm sure Mike has something to say about that.
My cats don't know how to play the accordion. That wasn't the takeaway?
I'm sure Noodles played the accordion. It would be very impressive.
So that's when the show started. They showed the two dogs playing that day, and introduced
sort
the
of
host.
Towing the line, as it were, right?
Yeah, and it sort of looked like the beginning of a boxing match where you've got one dog facing in one direction, you've got the other dog facing in the other direction, and they're ready to maul each other or whatever. Maybe maul isn't the best word.
Where's Don King when you need him?
No, it is not.
Only in America. And England, too. And actually, there was a live-action opening in earlier seasons. Not as fun, but the one thing that I didn't like about that open, the graphics they used to show the name of the show look like they're from the early 80s. I don't know if that's just, the Pat Robertson budget back in the early 90s, but it looked really dated, like I said, 10 years before the show aired. It would be something you saw in the early 80s, just bad computer graphics.
Yeah.
So that's my dog. I think we're going to put this one to rest.
So as long as you don't put it to sleep, because that would just be cruel. Hashtag adopt, don't shop. Anyway.
Chico Alexander, everybody. But now that takes us to Think Like a Cat.
Oh, dear.
Think Like a Cat, yes.
Yeah, it is literally an hour-long commercial for Meow Mix.
Yes, it had just one episode, and it originally aired on GSN Game Show Network on November 15th of 2008. And if you thought that Kibbles and Bits and Bits and Bits was had a lot of advertising on That's My Dog, you haven't seen how much advertising there is for Meow Mix on Think Like a Cat.
Meow Mix scoured the country looking for outstanding cats and their human parents to compete in the first ever cat game show.
Think like a cat.
Will one team walk away $1 million richer? The top 8 pairs are here tonight and purring to go. This is the Meow Mix Think Like a Cat game show.
It's the Meow Mix Think Like a Cat game show. Now please welcome your host, Chuck Woolery.
Thank you very much.
What is Think Like a Cat?
It's literally the Meow Mix game show.
An abomination?
Because this was in the period in 2008 where I was not watching GSN at this time. So this is completely new to me.
Well, I didn't have GSN at the time either, but thank heavens there's YouTube so we can get bits and pieces of it. There was apparently some contest that Meow Mix ran that they had cat owners sending in videos of their cats and showing their cats' talents and their relationship with the cats. And they picked 8 cats and their owners. And one of them would end up with a chance to win $1 million, up to $1 million. And they played a couple of different games to get there. The first game, all 8 cats were in little lanes, not unlike what you'd see in a 100-meter dash. I think there were some sort of walls separating them, so each cat had to stay in their lane. But the idea was the 3 cats that went furthest down the track before time ran out, they advanced to the next game. There was a lure at the end. There was, first off, their owner, but also second, there was a bowl of presumably Meow Mix at the end, which...
Well, I imagine so, because, well, again, look at the title. I mean, I can count on 2 hands, 2 feet, and maybe an abacus the number of times that Chuck Woolery said, what was it? Something goodness? Wholesome goodness? Because that was the thing that Meow Mix was pushing. Like NBC was pushing Mr. Smith.
As a cat owner, I've never actually thought of Meow Mix as having any sort of goodness.
Yeah, you're all about the temptations, Mike.
Well, no, that's their treat. That's a treat. Now, this is a Purina indoor cat formula food house. So the idea was that the first 3 cats to get to the bowl or furthest to the bowl in 1 minute would advance to the second part of the game. This might not be a good look for Meow Mix. Only 2 of the cats got to the food.
Wow.
And the third one was based on how far they got. Not necessarily how far they got when time ran out, because actually the one that was chosen was the one who went furthest, but then turned around. Maybe the cat saw his Meow Mix and was like, nope, I only eat Fancy Feast. Bye-bye. So then
that
those...
cat has standards.
Absolutely. I've never given my girls Meow Mix. So the people that were eliminated each got $1,000. And that's too low for the price of their dignity that they paid for being on this thing.
Wow.
I'm sorry. No, I'm not. The 3 remaining owners then played a game like Jeopardy called Cat Purdy.
Oh, that's terrible.
And
Lazy writing.
Wait, and you want lazy writing? And all the categories were cat-themed or cat puns.
Oh, Jesus.
Wow.
And they were similar to Jeopardy. 6 categories.
Categories.
6 categories. Ha 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 ha. And they were worth from 10 to 50 points. And the lowest scoring owner after this game left with $10,000. Oh, that's not bad. That's a jump going from 1,000 to 10,000. Then the 2 remaining cats are then recorded in different situations. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, they put cats in different situations and recorded them, and the owners wagered their points on what the cat will do before each clip is shown. So it's like anything for money.
I was just about to say Card Sharks 2001.
Oh, that's another one for the list. We haven't added that.
Yeah, or I was going to say, it's kind of like, do you remember that pilot that aired on GSN like 20 years ago called Monday Night Quarterback, where they'd show a play, and it would basically be like you make the call, what happens next in the play?
Right, exactly.
That's what it kind of reminds me of.
Yeah. So the 2 owners that are left, they wagered their points on what they thought their cat would do in the situation. Unfortunately, I don't have video of this, so I don't know what the situations are. And honestly, I can't think of 7 situations my cats would be in. So We'll leave that up to the imagination. And there are a couple of rules. They couldn't wager more than half their points on the first 2 questions. For the other 5 questions, they could wager any or all of their points. And the cat and the owner, who had the highest number of points, won $25,000. The loser in that round left with $15,000.
Still not enough money.
So right now, Meow Mix is in for $55,000. 5 times 1,000 plus 10,000 plus 15 plus 25. But that's not all.
What?
The bonus round. They're going to play the Meow Mix $1 Million Challenge.
Oh, Jesus.
So this was stank-ass dumb luck.
Right?
I said it. Stank-ass dumb luck. There's 10 bags of Meow Mix on the stage. And each bag contains a symbol. And what the idea was that the cat and the human must get a matching symbol. Their symbols must match to win the $1 million. And they each chose a bag. Yeah, the cat chose a bag.
Cat, as cats tend to do.
Well, the thing is, and I tested this with one of my cats last week. The cat, I didn't do it necessarily with food in a bag. I put food in my fist. And I put actually a little food in both fists. And I held my fist out and said, pick a fist. And the cat always tended to gravitate towards my right fist. Even though there were equal amounts of both foods, equal amounts of the food in both of my fists. So, does a cat really know what random is? It's so freaking insipid. I mean, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's like my theory you've heard my theory about horse racing. And I've told you this before, Mike. Does the horse, when it's racing, have any idea that it's racing? Does it have a concept of what's going on? It's judging by what you have said about this show, it's clear the cats have no idea of the concept that this is a television show they're on.
Gee, you think?
No, the cats obviously don't have a clue as to what's going on. They're, playing for food. They're
for all I know, they could be thinking, "Hey, I get to have dinner after this."
Well, they had dinner in the first event, and only 2 cats took advantage of it. And the dinner that night probably was more Meow Mix. And I wouldn't be surprised if Meow Mix gave everybody on the show a free year supply of Meow Mix.
Yay, I have all this Meow Mix sitting in my garage. Joy.
Well, again, as Chico said earlier, this was a 1-hour infomercial for Meow Mix.
Actually, my mistake. It was 30 minutes.
It's still 30 minutes too long.
It is still 30 minutes too long.
So the idea was, in the bonus round, was they get matching symbols, and if their symbols matched, they won $1 million. They didn't. They left with the $25,000 they won earlier. They didn't even have any matching symbols. And what this reminded me of, I forget what season it was. I want to say it was around 2008, around the same time as this, as a matter of fact. Hershey's did a similar promotion on Deal or No Deal.
Right.
Where if a family member, and I think it was her mother, had like the matching halves of a check or something like that they would win $100 million. The thing was, instead of 10 bags to choose from, there were 150. And only 2 of the bags, or 2 of the cases, because they actually used little cases like Deal or No Deal, only 2 of the cases had the winning combination. And in that case, just like this, neither of the winning cases were found. Surprise, surprise. A 1 in 150 shot a 2 in 150 shot of finding one of the cases. And actually, the odds of winning, this would never be won.
What are the odds of winning?
1 in 11,175.
Wow.
Yeah, nobody's winning that. Well,
No.
maybe after 11,175 tries.
You know, it's like the Doctor Strange 1 in 3 billion tries thing. I wonder what it would be like in the one scenario where they actually won the money.
Well, at least the Meow Mix one is a little bit easier, because the odds of winning the Meow Mix one is 1 in 45. Which actually isn't bad odds, given that you got 25,000 to start with, and $1 million is 40 times bigger. So this is just about like close to pot odds, if you will, like expected value.
Okay.
But still, it's ridiculous. And the thing is, what if the $1 million is given away? Is that Meow Mix's money? Is that insurance? Is that GSN's money? Well, I mean, we'll never know, but for a GSN show to give away $1 million,
They must have been confident, and I use the term loosely, that it was never going to be won.
Well, and again, but also, like I said, there must be some sort of insurance policy on it, and even if it costs like that $25,000, I don't know. Was GSN actually thinking, oh, this is going to be like a great viral moment if this cat and this person match and they win the $1 million? Is it really money well spent?
I'm sure the money would have been like an annuity, like on the $1 million chance of a lifetime.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and in addition, if the $1 million was won, $100,000 was going to go to an animal shelter of the winner's choice.
Which is actually pretty cool.
Which is actually very nice. Absolutely. And who got stuck hosting this piece of crap?
Chuck Woolery.
Who was like the poster child for GSN at the time. He had hosted Lingo, and he hosted Lingo for
freaking ever. Like, what, 6, 7 seasons?
Well, at least 5 years, because it started in 2002. And yeah, I think there were episodes that went into 2007, so that would be 5 years, 6 seasons or so.
Yeah, that's a pretty good run.
And it's the last show he hosted, I believe. I don't think he hosted anything after that.
No, he did not. He did not host another show after that.
And this would explain why.
Seems like he went full Lucille Ball, if you remember the sort of whatever happened after Life with Lucy got excoriated by critics, because this show was absolutely trashed.
Well, that's the reason why it's here. It just also just reeks of desperation by him. Desperate for a paycheck. Because, I mean, remember, not even 10 years earlier, he was hosting Greed. And we said Lingo. So he had a good career. And then he hosted this. And we're not going to mention what he's done since then, because he's part of the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a like a joke I'd say here, but I'm gonna just stay out of it. Just no.
We're not gonna be that guy.
No, not at all.
No.
And actually, it did get good ratings despite being a glorified infomercial. It received over 1 million combined viewers during its 5 airings. 1 million viewers on GSN in 2008 is actually a pretty decent number.
Well, it's
200,000 per episode, or average per episode.
Yeah, but consider this. Even the big 3 on GSN today, that would of course be America Says, Common Knowledge, Catch 21.
Yep.
They average about 300,000, 400,000 an episode now, with less stakes.
With an actual show.
So just something to think about.
Well, also GSN has changed so much in the last 11 years, so they found their niche, and maybe this was a hit in somebody's eyes. I'm guessing maybe a Meow Mix executive, clearly not somebody at GSN, because those numbers like totally dwarf other things GSN has shown besides the shows we mentioned.
The American Bible Challenge and
the Chase, one that's near and dear to your heart and mine.
Yeah, let's keep it
at that. I'm more than content leaving it at that. It's just that Chico and I have our own stories about how we were very close to getting on the show.
We'll just leave that there.
Yeah, we don't need
the Chase.
We don't need to reopen that wound.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's put that paper cut in the past where it belongs. Anyway. But yeah, you look at numbers for this show, and then you look at numbers for like the American Bible Challenge and the Chase and the big three that are on today, and you think to yourself, big concept works well if it's done well. This was big concept, but it was not done well. And like with every show that is not Scrabble, it seems to me that Chuck Woolery was mailing it in.
Many people have said that. And not just about this, but about other shows that he's hosted. I don't think he was necessarily mailing it in on greed, but...
Oh, no, I don't think so either.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Or it's like the only show that I can say without uncertainty that Chuck Woolery did not mail it in, Love Connection.
Oh, Love Connection's great.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, that needs to go on the list for the Andy Cohen version.
Oh, I saw like 10 minutes of the Andy Cohen version, and I'm like, nope. I'd rather watch the Pat Bullard version than this.
Oh, Jesus.
Don't mind them. We're doing a podcast, but they're doing show prep.
Hi, TC.
No, he's talking to Banoodles. Come on.
Oh.
No, neither of them are nearby, I'm sorry to say.
Oh.
That's exactly how the cats feel about Think Like a Cat.
They ran away?
They were like, F this.
Like,
yeah, and Banoodles is actually here for That's My Dog, so she must have known something was coming when she scurried off. Well, we survived this episode.
Yep.
It's one that went to the dogs. And the cats.
And the cats.
Boy,
But speaking of cats, Mike.
Oh, no! Is this a segue to next week?
Yes!
Ooh! Segue!
Do you really want to spoil it here, or should we save it?
Tease.
Well, Chico, I don't think knows what we talked about in the first preview episode, did we?
I know it, but I don't remember it off the top of my head.
Well, as I mentioned at the end of last week's episode, we're sort of doing these on a category basis for every 2 to 4 weeks. And you can probably guess what the category is for this block of shows. We're going to look at a show next week, which actually sort of swept the world, kind of, sort of. It did make news in America, in the UK, about 2.5 years ago, 2 years ago. What happens when you do Big Brother, but the people in the Big Brother house are not humans, they're cats.
Ooh, I know what you're about to do, but I'll keep everybody in suspense for another week.
So yeah, next week we're going to look at a show which is essentially Big Brother with cats. And yes, that was a thing on TV. That's a good name for a podcast. I should save that. That's
a good ending. I like it a lot. I think you should do more of it.
Yeah, make that the close for every episode from now on.
Again, more show prep while we're doing this on the air.
Oh, for the love of God.
So, yeah, that's going to be it for our episode this week. I don't have to see That's My Dog ever again. Hallelujah.
Good.
Yes, yeah, we're going to put that one to pasture. Oh, no, that would be cows if we put it to pasture, but
Yep.
Just remember...
They're going to a magical farm upstate is what Mike is trying to say.
They're going to become your next burger from McDonald's.
Oh.
That's cruel!
Mike, come on.
That was mean. I'm sorry. But it's awfully delicious. So, as always...
Can't take you anywhere.
We're going to hell. I'm sorry. As always, you can find us everywhere online. You can find us at Twitter on twitter.com/itwasathingontv, at Tumblr at itwasathingontv.tumblr.com, on Instagram at instagram.com/itwasathingontv, and on Facebook at facebook.com/ guess what? It Was a Thing on TV. And, of course, you can find all the episodes on iTunes and Google Play and Stitcher and at our website, itwasathingontv.podbean.com. So, for Chico Alexander and Greg Diener, this is Mike Klaus. We'll see you next week for, I'll give the name of the show, Meow Manor.
That was the thing on TV?
It was the thing on many TVs.
Oh, wow.
We'll get into that next week.
Oh, yes.
Have a good week. We'll see you next time.
All right.
The winners of both That's My Dog and Think Like a Cat, they won cash prizes. The losers were all neutered.
Oh!
Go to your room right now, Mike Klaus!
No!
There's your
Go to
ending!
your room!
There's
Go
your
to
ending!
your room right now!
No!
Bad!
No!
That was bad and you should feel bad!
No!
That's still going at the end.